One. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's show. We have our co-host here today, Deborah, Shar. Would you all like to introduce everyone?
Hello, everyone. I'm Shar B, and we welcome you to the platform that's going to give the lady listeners an opportunity to ask those lingering questions and get a male's perspective of those questions. So we're going to go ahead and introduce our panel of guests. We have a new guest today. We have Melvin. Say hi, Melvin.
Hello, everyone. I'm Melvin of Brooklyn, New York, currently residing in Orangeburg, South Carolina. Hello.
Okay. And we also have another guest. We have Jermaine. Jermaine, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Jermaine is here.
Jermaine, you have to take off the mute button.
I got it. Yeah. Hey, y'all. My name's Jermaine. Nice to meet y'all. Guten Tag to all my folks out there. You know, Jersey born. I live in Orangeburg.
All
Nice
right.
to have to be here.
And we also have our host, Koshan. Say hi to the people, Koshan.
Hello. Yeah, get started.
Okay. And on the ladies' side, we have Miss Deborah. Welcome back, Miss Deborah. And we also have a new guest. We have Keisha that's also in the building today. All right. So welcome, everybody. Welcome to the show. So we're going to dive right in with these questions. So Melvin, you are up first. Are you ready? You are now in the hot seat.
Let's go.
Are you ready?
Yes, ma'am. I am.
All right. So we're going to start with the first question that was submitted from one of our listeners. So how do you as a man acknowledge and process your emotions?
I like to share my emotions. I'm not one of those guys that's real tough and, don't want to share his emotions. I'm very open and, I figure that if I share my emotions with her, she'll share. But a lot of times, a lot of guys don't want to show their emotions because they want to feel tough or they'll feel like they soft or something like that. I have learned as an adult that processing your emotions and letting a woman see how you feel will make the relationship better.
Okay. And Deborah, do you have any follow-up questions to that?
You said, Deborah, do I?
You? Yes, Deborah, do you?
Oh, I didn't, you know what? I didn't even hear what he said. I was actually getting back in the car from being in the store.
Okay, that's fine. Okay. All right. So Melvin, do you have anything else to add to your answer?
No, that's it. I just think that being open and sharing our emotions will just make things better. And this is in a relationship we speaking, right?
Just in general, we're just wondering how you would process your emotions, but mainly, yeah, I would say in a relationship.
Yeah, I think being open and showing emotions, and it's okay to cry, hold your lady and want affection and want attention. It's okay to do all those things. But again, a lot of guys, they feel like they're not like they being soft or something like that if they do that, especially crying in front of a woman. Like, I don't have no problem with that. Like, even when you intimate, if it feel real good to you and if you feel like you want to cry, man, cry. It's okay because you're just showing your emotions that it felt good to you and you feel it inside your body. That's just how I feel about it. There's nothing wrong with showing your emotions.
Jermaine?
Okay. Jermaine, same question. How do you acknowledge and process your emotion?
You gotta remember, I got the art of decompartmentalization, but I guess there's a time where I will let my emotions be known to certain people. Maybe I need to do better with that, but that is a good thing. Men should know how to do. We should do more. A lot of us don't. A lot of that has to do with societal norms, but we should. But we don't as much as we should. I mean, I really can't say. There ain't really much more I can say about that because do I believe you should? Yeah, you should. But are you able to? That's a question I can't answer. So it's like it's like a splitting hairs. Everybody wants you. I have no problem. I have no problem being transparent to somebody. But if I'm doing it, I'm doing it in confidence. And if I'm doing this to you, that means you must have some level of importance to me. So if I do decide to open up to you, I don't expect to hear about it later.
That's
And and that's just one of them things. Like, oh, I have no problem sharing if you don't have any problem not throwing it back in my face later on.
thank you for that, Jermaine. This was a two-part question, and it says, how do you all acknowledge and process your emotions? So I want to address the first part, the acknowledging part. So I'm very routine, and as far as acknowledging my emotions is when something changes, right? And some of the emotions like anger, sadness, or anything like that. And I pretty much acknowledge it whenever I notice a difference in myself or the way I interact, because I have a group of people that I speak to consistently, my kids, my dad, one or two friends. So we talk about basically some of the same things. Whenever that changes, or if I notice I'm kind of being more aggressive or abrasive with my children, then I kind of stop, right? And acknowledge if feelings have changed or what is going on. Recently, like I noticed during Mother's Day, the time of my mother's birthday, my mom was murdered. So I noticed that I was experiencing some feelings of sadness, right? So once I identified the feelings, acknowledged them, I felt like they're coping mechanisms. One thing is just exercising, sometimes just getting rest, not to the point where you're sleeping and where it could be identified or categorized as being in a depressive state, but just getting rest, because sometimes when you lack rest, it affects you as a person and your emotions and your feelings. I also try to find a way of integrating my emotions with a reason. Like I said, what is triggering these emotions? What is causing it? What happened differently? Did I have a hard day at work? Was I not prepared for something? What can I do to change these things? And as far as that's how I acknowledge in the way I process it. And sometimes you can speak to others about it, but I'm a problem solver and like the problem solving approach. So if you're not helping me solve my problems, logically it makes no sense to disclose that with people. So that's not as far as like being emotionally available. I think that emotionally available is when it relates to that person, right? If I'm talking to someone, I can tell them how I feel about them or what's going on. But some things I just process on my own. And like Jermaine alluded to, I mean, what's the purpose? You say things and then sometimes they throw it back at you or use it again, or it's just viewed as a waste because there's nothing to gain from sharing it. Like some people don't present a solution to my problem. So it's not a reason to share it, but that's how I acknowledge and process my emotions.
Koshan, can I ask one real quick?
Yes.
Yeah, let me just extend my hand of brotherhood to you on that whole thing about your mom. I don't know if Char told you. My mother's birthday was yesterday.
Man.
So I understand what you're going through.
Okay. Appreciate that, man.
Just extending that hand, man.
Yeah. Yeah. I went through a situation recently. I had a former student. I taught him in the seventh grade, kept in touch with him, and I saw him at graduation last year, and I would see his dad around pretty often. And I bumped into his dad at the pool, and his dad called me over and was like, man, I know you and my son are really, really close, man. And I said, yeah, how is he? Because it was a really, really smart kid. In my opinion, he had a really bright future. And he said, man, I just wanted to let you know that we lost him about a month ago. And yeah, that really devastated me. And I acknowledged what it had done to me, and I was able to communicate it with him. And I, told him, I know that's your son, but it seems like you're handling the situation much better than I am. And, without getting too deep into like religious beliefs and things like that, I explained to him, why it was difficult for me to process. And it triggered memories of my mom, of course, and other situations of people that I lost. And something that stood out to me the last time I saw his son, when I spoke to him, he wouldn't make eye contact with me, which stood out to me, right? I didn't question him about it, but I noticed it. And I wanted to get a picture with him for that reason. And when I got the picture, his dad asked, could he get in the picture as well? He wanted a picture with us. And I'm happy we did that. But I shared with his dad that I had a first cousin that committed suicide. And the last time we spoke, he never made eye contact with me. and which was weird. That had never ever happened before. But, we talked about, our feelings, what I was experiencing at the time, but it really, really had a negative impact on me that, at that moment. My entire right, like I got a throbbing migraine on my entire right side. I started to, I don't know what it was causing, but I just kept like looking at my sons while they were in the pool. I didn't want them to like be uncomfortable or ruin their day, but it just made me get that much closer to them,
It just
and
made you remember. I mean, because you like at any given time, even though you don't want to admit it, we don't want to drive on it, but those of us that have like that have sons, we
yes.
can't get around the fact is there's a risk.
And he and I both
And
have four sons. So we talked about that. And I was joking about one of my sons, actually two of my sons, older sons, calling me for money. And I spoke to them like, I don't care how old you get, you be 70 years old, y'all will always be my babies, right? And I was telling him how I want to teach them responsibilities and how to become independent. But at the same time, imagine your child asking you for $50 and you not do it and they die in a car accident, and thinking
oh yeah,
the last interaction you had with your child was telling them no or not doing something for them that you could have done. So,
you
so
eat yourself up, man.
yeah, it changed a lot of things as far as my perspective and the importance of communications. But the dad said something very important to me when I told him, I said, man, you're handling this very, very well. And he said, the primary reason is he and his son had no stones left unturned. He taught his son every day about everything and he was good with it. And
So he already had closure.
right. He felt good about that. And I commend him for it. But I also, we exchanged numbers and I've texted him since, like, if you ever need to talk to anyone, I'm here. But yeah, I apologize for the long response, but
Like, you
Yeah,
trying to teach our boys. I am.
and
So,
that's where, my heart, my prayers goes out to you guys and the family of the, young boy, because that's what.
it is. And what was so weird, his dad said his son had said to him once when he was younger that this place isn't his home. And he thought he was talking about his immediate area. He's like, what you mean? You want to go to Charlotte with your mom? He said, no, that's not my home either, Dad. It's like I'm just not from here. And as we reflected, I just associated it with this kid being more mature than others, but he always appeared to be in a different headspace than the other kids were. He never like laughed with the other kids, but he wasn't sad or depressed. It was just, he had a different demeanor about himself. And I was like, he's just more mature than they were. But when dad said that the young lady was in a car with him when they died in the car accident, he had just met the young lady the day before and he told his brother that we got to go to an appointment. And he was like, appointment? How you got an appointment with this girl? You just met her. And he said,
mm,
we got an appointment tomorrow. I'm taking her to an appointment. And,
mm.
yeah, and they died in a tragic car accident. So that was weird. So dad felt like he's in a better place and he knew when his son told him years ago that this wasn't his home. And that's, I guess, how he coped with it.
Well, he's not hurting anymore.
Right. But but it was no depression. Everyone that knows this young man says the same thing about him and his personality. It's just weird. So I think when we talk about processing our emotions, acknowledging is very important because if you don't acknowledge your emotions, right, others may acknowledge it before you do and they don't know how. I mean, not many of us are trained, right? Are licensed professionals. So what's our response or reaction when a person is being sporadic or acting abnormal? Sometimes we may say things that cause them to be even more abrasive or it could be a trigger. So I learned I have to acknowledge my emotions myself because, people joke around when someone's acting differently. Oh, you ain't take your meds today or you woke up on the wrong side of the bed today. Things like that could be offensive and they could be triggers to someone.
That's
So
why I would get ahead of the joke because unfortunately I know a little something about being in that headspace. And sometimes I would use sarcasm as a coping mechanism. So a lot of stuff that you might say that you might think might be might offend me, I'm probably gonna say it in a joke anyway.
See, but that varies based on the person. So I try to be conscious of that and not being offensive to someone, you know. And like we said, some people it's cool. They don't take offense to it, and others it may be offensive.
You work with people, man. So you have a vast you have a vast library of experience in that category.
Correct, correct. And it changes, and you'd be surprised, man, of how diverse our thought processes are with some minute things that you would think that, okay, we all think a certain way, but that's completely not the case, especially in spaces where you, like schools and churches, you have a multi-generational spaces, right? Because you can have a school, you have kids as young as 5 years old and up to 15, 16, but you also have adults that are as young as 20, as old as in their 70s. So from age
Mm-hmm.
5 to 70, think about that generational gaps and then the difference in communications, different in expectations. And, you know, when you talk about communication, we talked about this in past episodes, how we were basically oppressed and our voices were suppressed growing up. You know, we were taught to listen to adults. Adults talked at us and not to us, right? They told
You
us
not
what to
heard.
do, right? But a lot of people in our generations have experienced mistreatment. They've been physically abused, sexually abused, mentally, emotionally abused. And, you know, they know that. So their goal is to make sure that does not happen to their kids. So they're teaching their kids to be more outspoken, teaching them to communicate. But adults that have never experienced that or never had that opportunity, they view it as disrespect.
Yeah.
Those kids are disrespectful, you know. When it all comes back to the premise of the show is communication and understanding and processing things, because we can't acknowledge our emotions or process them, then it causes things to escalate and it creates bigger problems, in my opinion. Yes. I see your mic was
Okay.
on, Deborah. You have something to say, Deborah?
You said, do I?
Yeah, I saw your mic was on. Your mic came on. That's what I am.
Oh no, I didn't think I had my mic on. I was just listening to you guys, honestly. I had to make a phone call, see a man about a dog real quick. So I
Hey.
just got back in.
All right. Our next question. I think we lost the other guy, Jermaine.
Melvin.
Yeah. So this next question is, why do you feel there's a huge rift between men and women, especially black, regarding roles in relationships? And this person contacted me directly about this question, and she talked about all of these debates about 50-50 on bills, who should do this, who's responsible for that, and role reversals, etc. But she wants to know, why do we feel there is a huge rift between men and women, especially black, regarding roles in relationships? So I'll let you
I
have that.
think Devin just answered it.
What was
What
that?
did Deborah say?
What's up,
I
Devin?
said
Devin.
the government because that's
What's up?
where it started. You know what I'm saying? Like the rifts in the black family started with the way the government, started breaking up the black households back in the day. You know what I'm saying? Women on section, yeah, like
Partially, but no,
partially,
I
yeah.
was yeah,
I
I
think
wouldn't say
that's
that
how it
caused a
began.
rift. No,
I
that broke up the black family. That didn't cause the
right.
rift.
I
No, I
mean,
think that broke up
No,
the family.
them stores are still open though. Those
Yeah,
meals are still
yeah, the
open.
rift. A lot of the rift, I believe, comes in when women want to. Some women, I'm not going to generalize all women, but some women feel like because now, like say weeks ago, a lot of women are more educated than black males. That's a fact. They're more educated, therefore, most of them bring in more income, and a lot of people feel like he or she who brings in the money has the most say. So me, I think the opposite. We're a team. I tell my my look on that is if I'm paying everything, I'm paying all the bills, then we're not a team. I'm the coach or the captain of the team. You're a member of the team, so that you're gonna follow suit. But if we're doing this thing together, then we both got equal say. So there's no big you, no big me. I, I'm more of the team aspect versus the man is the head of the house. Yeah, men is ahead, but we're still a team at the end of the day. So I don't like the rifting part of it.
Well, and I think Charles had heard this theory about this stuff. I think it was on feminism. And the reason I say that is feminism was originally meant for white women. Okay, what they did was they extended a hand to black women and said, do you want to, take your male oppressors like we're doing, and we'll give you all the tools to do it. We'll give you housing, we'll give you education, we'll give you money, so you're not going to need them. And help us fight against our male oppressors. And then what happened was, hey, y'all saw the truth. Y'all took y'all benefits and y'all started running the house. And then when that happened, the white women went back to their husbands.
And that's why I say the government as well, because by doing that, by implementing that, right, you basically told the black women, we're going to help you. We're going to give you all of this assistance. What you didn't tell the black women is that once we start giving you this assistance, your black man is no longer allowed in your household.
Exactly.
You get what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
but
So that
that's a
started.
divide.
We will pay
The
you.
It
rift,
is.
the questions regarding to gender roles, like, oh, you're the woman, so you cook or you clean. That
Well,
was the question.
gender, no, the question didn't say gender roles, but it's not solely on the
Please read the
government
question again.
either.
Please read the question again.
So why do you feel there is a huge
Koshan, could you read
rift?
the question again?
Yes. Why do you feel there is a huge rift between men and women, especially black, regarding roles and relationships?
The
Okay.
word submission became a derogatory term.
So I'm corrected. Thanks a lot, Tank. I'm corrected.
We're cool.
Yeah, I would say the government plays a part in the divide of the black family. But as far as the rifting, nah, yeah, they play a portion of it, but that's on us.
Yeah, I think Tank is saying the rift
Yeah, it
is
is on
the
us.
response and the reaction. The government can put you in jail. They don't control how you react to being in jail. They can divide the family.
Right.
They don't control your
But I'm not saying it's all on the government. I feel like that's where it started,
right,
right?
right.
That's
We
where it
agree with that.
started.
He's just saying why do we think there is a rift? And do you agree that there is a rift between men and women? And why do you think
Very
it
much
is?
so.
Well, Melvin, go ahead, Melvin.
Hey, Jordan, I got knocked off. I got a phone call.
That's all right.
Do I feel that there's a rift between men and women?
Why do you feel, the thing I like about the why questions is that
Okay,
women like why, but when you ask a why question, you're implying that that is the truth, right?
right.
So, but I like to ask our panelists, do you agree? And if you do agree or disagree, why? So she asked, why do you feel there's a huge rift between men and women, especially black, regarding roles and relationships?
Okay. I do feel that there is a huge rift between men and women in relationships, especially black, regarding roles. You want to know why?
Why is that?
Because we left the black woman to do our, oh my God. Hold on. I'm going to click that off. I'm,
We're live.
I'm still here?
Yes.
Okay. No, I keep getting phone call. A lot of my work is done on the phone. Okay, let me answer the question. So what I was going to say is that us, some men have left women to do their job and our job. So some women, because they had to do the man's job and their job and did it for so long, they feel that they don't need a man to do anything for them. Like I'm from New York. So in New York, when a woman has to do everything for herself, she feels she might as well be by herself. And then when she do get a man, she's so used to doing stuff on her own that she don't want to let him do but so much. Everything, I got it. I got it. I got it. And she got it because she had to have it because there was no man there. Whether he was taken out the house, whether he was thrown out the house, or whether he just left on his own, the women was left to do everything on their own. So it made them get strong and it made their hearts cold. So yes, there is a rift. There is a rift.
Thank you for that, Melvin.
Welcome.
Okay. Tank, Jermaine.
Man, I can't follow that. He done hit everything.
Well, I'm looking at it from a different perspective. So why do you feel there's a huge rift between men and women, especially black, regarding roles and relationships? Here's the thing. I think that the rift is a social media rift. It does exist, but I think it's more of a social media rift than an actual rift, because being in a relationship, those things are discussed and established prior to or while you're in the relationship. I don't see actual couples arguing and debating about these roles, right? But I do see a lot of debates and arguments publicly in social media. But that also shows me that although a lot of people may not argue and debate with their actual spouse or significant other, they feel this way because they come into different platforms, or they get on the social media platforms and they openly express how they feel, or they shouldn't do this, they should do that. Like the whole 50-50 debate. That's a rift as far as social media goes, but I don't think it's an actual rift in a relationship, because a lot of times men argue with men about it. Like I say, okay, I'm a traditional old fashioned, I grew up around my grandparents, right? I only saw men pay all the bills. That's the way I feel. Damon and I Tank and I can debate on that for an hour, but we're not in a relationship. So when I talk about that rift existing, and if we want to go back a little, Deborah, we talk about causal agents to this, and I don't want to sound like, I want to be specific when we talk about the government. And I discovered these things I think about 6 years ago, doing some education research, right? Trying to determine causal agents and effects of things that involve kids and children and families. And one of the greatest things that occurred was, believe it or not, and you can research this, home economics in public schools. When home economics were part of the curriculum in public schools, the marriage rate among African Americans were close to 90%. And
That was my favorite class too.
some of the
Mine too.
long-term things with the home economics was this one of the books was the history of the American curriculum, and it was something else. And the thing about home ec, when young girls in particular learn to sew, learn to cook, learn to do, home economics in school, they were proud to show and display these things for their parents, right? So they rushed home to cook this spaghetti that they learned to cook. They wanted to show their mom that they can hem the little brother's pants, or take a hem out, or patch the knees in the worn jeans, right? Just doing things at home, it contributed to a stronger home nucleus. When during the same time when this occurred in the late 1920s into the early 30s, the abolitionist movement ended, right? So alcohol became legal, and the speakeasies were all shut down. That's where guys were spending a lot of time. They were going to the pubs and bars because you had to basically buy bootleg alcohol. But when it became public and they allowed off-site consumption, dads were able to buy a 6-pack. They could go to the house now. There's no need to stop at the pubs and these juke joints. They can actually go straight home with their 6-pack. Daughter fixed this spaghetti. She's helping mom clean the house. It took a load off the family, and everybody was at home. It strengthened the family. And now, tying into what Melvin said, and this is data, when it comes to black families, 7 out of 10 black children are born to single mothers. That's a lot. 7 out of 10. And like Melvin said, the women feel like I can do it all alone. And I don't think that a salary is enough to raise a child or raise a family, but
Hold on, though.
subconscious.
Unmarried mothers or single mothers?
What was that?
Unmarried mothers or single mothers?
Unmarried, just unmarried. So 7 out of 10 are born to unmarried mothers. And I think that these salaries and these degrees and things and I commend them, and women are proud to have them, but you can have 9 degrees. You can make $180,000 a year, $250,000 or whatever, and live in a wherever area, right? But that doesn't replace a father. So thinking that we don't need a man and I can do XYZ for my child alone, and they find themselves subsidizing that father, or trying to subsidize the male presence. And now you see the single moms having their child signed up for everything in the world. But you're reaching out to these coaches and mentors and all these other people to take the place of a father, as opposed to establishing and building relationships with that father. He may not make the income that you want. He may not be the person that you want him to be, but that's still that person's father. But tying it back to being an actual relationship, I don't think, me personally, that there is a huge rift between people in relationships. I will say that because I think all of us have been in a relationship at some time. And did you all argue
But
about roles in your relationship?
well, I was married, three baby mothers. I'm 54, so I have my
Right.
share of relationships and women. And of course, I'm single right now. That means that none of them work, obviously. I really do feel there's a rift. Now, again, I'm from New York, and we come from different places and cultures and structures, right?
No, I'm
Because
asking in your
down here,
relationship. Was there a rift in your relationship? Like, did
I
y'all
just
argue
forget
about the roles in your relationship?
that. I don't know if that's a topic in relationships. I don't know if that's something new. Like who argues about that? I'm just kind of curious about
That's my
who
point.
argues about roles because we know your role. You play
Right.
your role, I play my role. But to argue about it, I've never done that before.
And I agree. That's what I'm saying. I don't think that rift exists in relationships. I think the rift exists among individuals. Like we have conflicting ideologies when it comes to that, but not
Yeah.
with the people that we're in a relationship with. It's just that we may disagree because how do you feel, Deborah? Did you have rifts in your past relationships?
I didn't have, no. If you're talking about like what the roles were as, as far as gender roles and things like that,
Right.
no, but the rift did come in like, and I'll say personally for me, you know, I have always been very independent, but like my last relationship, which is where I almost got married, I actually, let him, I told him I was going to give him the opportunity to go ahead and, take the lead financially, be the lead, the head when it came to that, the provider. Let's just say that, the provider. And that was something I had never actually allowed anyone to do in my life before. And I gave him, I allowed him that space, that opportunity to make it happen. And it backfired. So I'm not very trusting of giving anybody, I don't care what the situation, but I'm not very trusting of giving anybody the opportunity to take the lead in my household. You know what I'm saying? Not to say I won't ever do it again, but it's going to be hard for me to do it again.
So
So it's,
what are there other roles in a relationship that you're fine with?
I'm fine with all those. Like I know look, I don't mind cooking, cleaning. That's just something, that's something I'm gonna do anyways. As long as you take the trash out and maybe, I mean, just, if you see I need help, help me. You know what I'm saying? But I don't, it's not mandatory that you do anything outside of really being the provider, because that's how I grew up seeing it. Like my grandfather, he was the provider. My grandmother, though she made money, she wasn't just a housewife. She owned buildings in Brooklyn. She ran a whole gambling house. You know what I'm saying? So she made money separate and outside of my grandfather. But when it came to like the household, like when she walked through that door, regardless of what she brought home, like he was the lead. You know what I'm saying? He took control there and she let him do so.
So do you think you have some type of anxiety or insecurity about a man taking the lead? Is it just that you don't trust it? Because like, what's the reason?
For me, it's just from experience. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't, you know,
You came home, the lights were off. It's
it wasn't
not
even that.
literally.
Nah, it wasn't.
No, not literally.
Not, no, it wasn't. Yeah, I could tell you. He just like, I just felt like his ego and his pride wouldn't allow him to understand that, like, you know, the family got to come first. If you are the provider, like yeah, you might not like your job, you might not like everything about it, but technically bite that bullet until you find something better, but don't just burn the whole house down because, somebody spoke to you in a tone that you didn't like. And that's what happened there. Like he literally like left the job, left the responsibility, all of that. And I wasn't even working, At that time I was homeschooling Carter because we were in the middle of COVID. So it just left a whole bad taste in my mouth with just giving anyone like I just like I need to be able to know that I can handle and take care and provide for myself and my child. And if God blesses me with someone else who can come in and add to that and help me in that way, great. But it's just, I'm not saying I won't let it be done again. It's just whoever that next person is, they're going to have to understand it's going to take some time for me to get comfortable with that.
Okay. I see Robin. Share
But
your message with us, Robin.
can I ask Miss Deborah where she's from?
New York, Jamaica Queen, South Suicide,
Okay, cool, cool.
177 in Liberty.
Okay, that's cool, cool. I know right where you at. I'm from BK. Nice to
I
meet
lived
you,
out in
brother.
Marcy too.
In Marcy? Okay.
Yeah.
You still in New York right now?
Nah, no, not no more.
Okay, I'm in South Carolina now myself.
That's where it seems like most of you guys are at, ain't it, Koshan?
Yes, yes. We have,
Yeah.
yes, that are, and I think Keisha's in
I'm in Maryland.
Maryland.
Long
Oh,
Island. Okay.
Oh,
nice.
okay. I'm in Jacksonville, Florida now.
Oh, you
Okay.
chilling. God
Hey,
damn it.
Keisha.
Hey.
Hey,
Hey.
Keisha.
So,
Don't act like that.
Robin, would you please read your response for us? Robin,
Wow, I gotta read it. I typed it.
for the listeners, they can't see what's in the message group.
Okay. So I feel like it's kind of a layered situation because in my opinion, during slavery, the conditioning was, they broke up families and then, people were taught to rat each other out. They were rewarded for telling on the next person that was trying to be free. I feel like all of that conditioning has affected the way our people interact with one another. I mean, that's my personal opinion.
Mhm.
And then you add to that the systems that the government put in place to help young single moms like myself. You couldn't, if you got a Section 8 apartment, you couldn't have a man living there or you didn't qualify, you know,
Mm,
or if you worked and you made a certain amount of money, it's not a livable wage, but you couldn't get help. So this is where women, start lying. They start having more kids so that they can get more benefits and not having a man there because they're trying to figure out a way to take care of their kids without, the way it was structured, you couldn't be married and receive that help.
right.
So I feel like that added to it, and then when you add into it, like, I believe it was, I don't know if it was Jermaine or Melvin that was saying, all these years of single moms having to do it on their own. And when you have kids and you have that kind of responsibility, you got to make it happen. You don't have time for somebody to drop the ball. But it has not hardened me to where I can't be submissive in a relationship, a traditional relationship. I do think it has affected a lot of women to the point to where, like Deborah said, like she's not even going to look to the guy to lead anything in the household because when you've been traumatized or you've been hurt or disappointed, it makes it difficult for you to put somebody in that position in your life. I think my upbringing just was a little bit different, a lot more traditional. My father was a lot older than my mom. So I don't know. I think all of that adds into the mindset. But you asked a question, a follow-up question, Koshan. You said if anyone had had that actual argument in a relationship. And I did in my last relationship. My fiance had presented to me that he was a provider. He believed in traditional roles. He was going to take care of all of the bills. And a couple of years into our relationship, they had some family issues. We had to bring his mom to stay with us. She had dementia. And his sister just started telling him, like, I feel everybody should be paying rent here. It should be equally spread out between us. And we began to have arguments about the roles,
Mm,
and so I thought that was interesting because he presented one thing, but he really didn't believe in that. And I found out all of his prior relationships were 50-50 on all the bills. And a lot of guys that I'm meeting now are thinking that way.
Yeah, that's,
So I don't know.
but,
That's just what I'm running into.
well, I shouldn't call it crazy. It's just foreign to me. But, you know, I too grew up with my grandparents. So I never saw my grandmother work. They owned a corner store and she spent Saturdays shopping. My entire life. That's all my grandmother did every single Saturday. She shopped for her store, but we went out. We got to eat. She went to yard sales. She shopped. She bought back to school clothes. She was one of the ladies in the church with the big hats and always had a new car. That was her life. So that's, you know, just what I was conditioned to seeing. And all of my uncles, and of course there was a larger income disparity growing up in the 80s. You know, men typically made about $15,000-$20,000 more in households than women did, but it worked itself out because the men with the larger incomes, they paid all the bills, and women basically, you know, like took care of the kids, did the shopping and things like that. But yeah, I've never been in a household where women contributed to bills. I just never saw that. So that wasn't something. And like Deborah said about her independence is she has to do it regardless. That is what is perplexing to me when it comes to men with 50-50. What were you going to do if you lived alone? Just pay half your bills every month? So as a man, if you're thinking about being independent and living on your own, you have to pay all your bills anyway. So what difference does it make? You know, having someone else there, having a spouse there, and you're still paying your bills. So I don't know. Maybe they can explain it to me and help me understand. And I'm not saying anybody's wrong. I'm just explaining my thought process on it. But thank you with that. Melvin, go ahead.
Well, I am a property manager of 2 mobile home parks in Orangeburg.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the tenants that are the leases are women. 95% of my tenants are women. 95%. That's the head of the household. They're all guys that stay with them. And when I go collect rent in the beginning of the month, the guys be telling me that she's not home yet from work. I have to come back. This is what the guys is home saying. She ain't get
Wow.
home yet. She haven't got home yet. She ain't get in yet. And I'm saying to myself, shouldn't you be at work and she be home? But, you know, and a lot of my personal female friends are homeowners, they're business owners. They have new cars. Women have came up a long way. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So, but to keep on blaming the system, we need to get out that mind frame. That's one. What happened back in the days happened back in the days. We are doing really well for ourselves. Look at these athletes, 300 million to play ball. Like we getting it. We doing our thing now. So we have to get out that mind frame of slavery and all that. That was before. Now we are doing much better. Another thing is we got to stop getting in new relationships until we are fully healed. If you was in a relationship and your man didn't do nothing for you, you're going to jump into another relationship. This dude ain't got a job either. So it's the guys that the ladies choose. That's why they say, don't cry about your baby father. You chose him. A lot of women, they get with these guys that don't take care of their children, and then they gonna get pregnant by the same guy, thinking that he's gonna take care of their child, or he ain't gonna do that to my child. And
Mm. I wanted to
He
lady.
ain't lying. I mean, he's not. I will say he's not lying to a lot of it. You know what I'm saying? To a lot of what he said, he's not.
Yeah. Well, what I will say is in like Robin's defense, I think she was just talking about what contributed to, not like using that as a crutch, but just saying what contributed to the mindset of people. And until you unlearn things, you will continue doing certain things generation after generation.
Right.
So I think we just talked about what contributed to certain things. And that is, man, a bit disheartening to hear. And I can see that, you know, these women at work, guys are at home and doing whatever and waiting on the women to come in to pay their rent. And I've said for several years that I blame these mothers because they've coddled their sons. They've coddled their sons, and women brag about moving mountains for their kids, right? But they do it for their sons. They raise their daughters and they coddle their sons. But while you're out here moving mountains for your sons, you should be teaching them how to move mountains, because the mountains will exist forever, but you won't be there forever to move those mountains. And then when you're not there, or you feel that these young men have reached an age where they should be independent, how can they be independent? Age alone doesn't make you an independent adult. So to say, oh, you're 20, you should be doing this. When did they have the opportunity to do those things? When you've done it for them, when you've always bought their sneakers for them, when you've always paid their bills, you've always reminded them of things. You've always had the car insurance in your name. Their cell phones are still in your name. When did these young men ever have an opportunity to experience manhood? And we just assume that because they reach a certain age, 21, 25, 30, they automatically know how to do it. And that's not a part of natural human growth and development, knowing how to be a man and being responsible. So I think that as parents, we've created that. And I say women because I've seen a lot of women that just coddle these boys. And thank you, Terry, has joined us. What's going on, Terry? We're talking about rifts between men and women when it comes to gender roles and
Good evening, everybody. I want to piggyback on what you guys were just talking about. I've been here for a minute, Cole, but it seemed like you didn't need me. The guys are doing pretty good.
No, you always
But
welcome, man. We love your perspective.
I want to give a good example of the same conversation. All right. Here I am, a 48-year-old man, about to be 49. I have a younger brother. Now, mind you, we grew up in the same house, same mother, same father.
Mm-hmm.
And Koshan, you know me. I was one of those kids. I didn't really get into a lot of trouble,
Mm-hmm.
but my mother and my father pushed me in ways I didn't want to be pushed. Like on Saturday morning, you figure, as a kid, I figured, Monday through Friday, we did school, we did any athletics, you
Mm-hmm.
know. I didn't want to get out of bed on Saturday morning, but my dad always forced me out of bed on Saturday morning. Let's go, boy. And you're not going to lay up in this bed all day. Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go.
Right.
So, we always went out in the yard and we always did some work. Now, on a flip side, with my younger brother,
Mm-hmm.
who's like 2.5 years younger than I am,
Mm-hmm.
when I was outside cutting grass, mind you, my mom's front yard was an acre. Riding lawnmowers wasn't big back then, and I'm
Right.
pushing this thing with a push mower, and my little brother was riding dirt bikes.
Mm.
So when I'm yelling at my mom or talking to my mom, like, yo, why Tommy not out here helping me?
Right. Right.
I'd appreciate him coming out here helping me. Oh, don't worry about him. He the baby. You go ahead and do what you're going to do. All right. Well, I was out there and I was putting in the work, but guess what? Now I'm 48 years old. My younger brother just turned 47. And guess what? He's never left the house. He's not holding down a job. And he always
Mm.
feels like someone has to give him something. He's not putting in the effort to be that own man. He's never had, like you said, Koshan, he's never had a phone bill in his name. He's never had a car. Mom and dad bought him a car. Well, guess what? He got caught up with DUI. They took the car away from him. All right. He got his driver's license suspended, but he feels like everyone owes him something. He's not going to get out here and work. So, right. So I always tell my mom to this day, you coddled him as a kid with that baby syndrome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now he is what he is. So you can't call me and tell me I need to do something for him because he's a grown man. I can't do it. So for women that coddle those kids and don't give, especially the young men, that don't give them a sense of responsibility, all you're doing is creating a problem. Now, I know there's probably some women on this line or on this call
Mm-hmm.
that are probably doing the same thing to their boys, but if that's what you're doing, you're creating a problem for the next generation.
Yeah, it happens a lot. So for you ladies, for you to understand why this new generation is so different, and it's funny, and I think that when we want to get some honest dialogue from women when it comes to relationships with men, I ask them about their sons. Not about relationship with other men. I ask them about relationships with their sons. And a lot of women, they defend women to their friends, but ask them if they'll let those same women date their sons. And then you see their true feelings about those women and their actions. But man, that's funny, Terry, when you talked about the relationship between you and your brother, and you always were mature, independent. You were one of the ones that was doing the split option. And I was like, I remember we started football practice and I'm like, where's Terry? They said, man, Terry, boot camp. I'm like, boot camp? We just got out the 11th grade. We're going to 12th grade. They're like, nah, Terry did the first part after the 11th grade. So when he graduates, he can finish the second part and go straight into the military. And that really impressed me that, you know, at 16, 17 years old, we're in the 11th grade thinking about going to a teen party or something. You were thinking about securing your future. And I remember Tommy, your little brother, left his book bag out by the sign one day, man, and somebody stole his backpack. And we came to help you, and the whole football team got behind him trying to find out who took his book bag. And we found out who had it and got the bag back and gave it to him. And I was like, you know, we did that because that's your little brother. But I thought back that as muscular as he had the little brother spoiled mentality, you know? And hearing 30 years later that that hasn't changed, like you said, it piggybacks on what we said. If we don't put the kids in positions or give them opportunities to become independent, it doesn't just happen that way. You know, it doesn't. That's why you have folks that go off into the military and they still make bad decisions because they were never taught properly. You know, we're going to go on. I don't know what happened to Shar with our next questions.
But I
And
just wanted to say really quickly, right before we move on, like you guys are 100% right about that. It happens a lot. I've seen it and I have a son and he has three younger siblings on his dad's side, but he's an only child on my side. And because I see like the way, because I was raised, like when my mom finally took me away from my grandmother's house, the dynamic in how we were being taught and how we were being reared changed. And it was almost like me and my sister just became like these villains. I don't know, but the boys in the, my younger brothers were coddled in a manner in which like me and my sister never received. And because I grew up in a household like that, I myself, am raising my son to make sure that he is very independent. He has been very independent for a long time and he's only about to be 13. But, when he wants something, like he called me yesterday asking me for a $700 scooter. Of course not, sir. But you know what you got to do to get it, right? You know what has to be done on your part. You need to start trying to figure out how you're going to, go around and take out trash and, maybe mow a lawn because you're old enough, you're big enough.
right, right.
But I'm not about to buy it. Like I'm teaching him to be very self-sufficient and to be, a man and that's mainly because I don't have a man in my household to teach him those things. So I know that if he's going to get it, though I'm not trying to be his father, he has a father. I still have to, as a single mother, show him certain ways so that it lines up with what he sees from his dad.
Let me ask you a question, Deborah. I know the ultimate decision will be his in the end, but if you had some say so, would you want your son being a 50-50 guy?
No, absolutely not.
Okay. And I want to,
Absolutely
Why
not.
not? Why are you against it?
Well, because again, I like my earlier years being in the house with my grandparents. That's like I wasn't raised on that. Like I was raised that the man is supposed to be the provider. You know what I'm saying? And the woman should be the nurturer. That's what allows like me to stay in my feminine role and be able to nurture this household and be everything that I need to be as a wife, as a mother, you know? So I want him to understand that that's how it needs to be. You know, the same way, like, I don't hit my son because I don't want him to think that it's okay for a woman to hit him.
But what if that, okay, you don't want to be 50-50, right? You
Yeah,
understand, right?
no.
What if your son has a job making, how old is your son?
He's only about to be 13. He's still a teenager.
Okay. So in about 10 years, right? He decides he
Yeah.
wants to get married. He's working. I'm not saying I don't want this to happen for your son or whatever, even if that's, I'm not, this is hypothetically speaking.
I know. I know. It's okay. Go ahead.
You have a child, at like 19, like my son just did. Okay. We're all
I
good.
pray not.
No, you do that, but mine. Okay. So then 23 decide, oh, me and Shelly gonna get married. He working at Walmart, McDonald's, or whatever. Can he provide for his wife and kid? Do you think?
No, of course not. But if I do my job right, hopefully at 23 he's not working at the Walmart or
I
the
don't care what
Walgreens.
you do. As parents, we can do whatever we want,
Right.
however we want. But
Right.
what if it works for them? He's making $20,000 a year. She's making $50,000 a year, but they're happy and it works for them.
I mean, then if that's what he's okay with, of course I'm going to support him regardless either way. But I would prefer, right? Let me say that I would prefer that he doesn't be a 50-50 type of guy, that he understands the importance of being able to lead a household because that's what I'm teaching him how to do. You get what I'm saying? So if he chooses,
Okay.
if he chooses to do that when he gets older, then that's going to be a choice that's made between him and the woman that he marries for whatever reason, however that may go. But he's going to understand that, you know,
So
go
he has
ahead.
to be the head, like take care of everything to lead the house.
I feel like it's that plus the integrity, the morals that you hold. Like it's more than just financial,
So you have to,
but that's a big part of it. Yes.
to lead the house.
So let me ask right quick. Well, I'm going to revisit this. Give Robin and Lakeisha an opportunity because do you have sons? And if you do, do you want your son to be a 50-50 guy or how do you feel about that?
Don't call it 50-50. Let's call it team. Because it might be 60-40, 70-30.
I do have a son
Yeah.
who's 17, and I just want him to be able to take care of self. Okay. If he can
That's more
take care
important.
and provide for self, then that's fine with me. I can't say when he'll be able to provide for another person. That's all on him. Do I want him to be the sole provider? No, I don't. 50-50, yes. Because
Can I say something?
it's a group
Sorry.
effort.
Thank you.
It's a group effort because no one person can do it on their own.
Okay. Just asking for your opinion. And
Let me tell you something that I see in society. What I see. So a lot, I didn't say a lot, but people that I've seen, in my past, in my walk of life, the women who husband is paying everything, that husband is paying everything, but he's neglecting the small things. Oh, I got you a nice house, a nice car, but I'm not talking to you. I'm not seeing how your day was. I'm not tending to you. I'm tending to all your material needs, but your emotional needs are being neglected. That's what I see. I don't know what y'all see, but that's what I've seen.
so they're spending too much time out making money.
It ain't about making money, but you provide and you make sure everything else is good. The household, the vehicles, but her mental status, you're not even there for.
I mean, but she can also, just because he's the provider doesn't mean that she can't contribute to the household as well. It doesn't mean that. Like I might be working for the savings money.
Goalposts, right?
Say again?
You was just 100-0. Now you're moving the goalposts. Well, she can.
No, I'm not moving the goalposts at all. Here's the thing. Just because I was raised that way, just like I said, I'm raising my son to understand that, just like Keisha said, you got to take care of self, right? If you add somebody else to that equation, then you need to know that you can also provide for self and that person.
I mean, if you can't take care of yourself, and take care of me if I fall off, I can't be with you. We gotta be able to hold each other. So if I'm 100 and you ain't bringing much to the table, we ain't gonna be together. Cause I got
So
another.
just because I let you be the provider, does that mean that I can't also work? I can't also bring in an income? I can't also,
Hey, you said I'm the sole provider.
you
But this
are.
just
You're the sole provider of what happens in this household. You're paying all the bills here, but that doesn't mean that I'm not also bringing in money.
I'm making all the decisions. I'm the sole provider. I'm making all the decisions in this household.
Well, see, not sole provider. If you're paying, all right, a household consists of much more than money, in my opinion, right?
Right.
So I don't look at paying bills as being a sole provider. And I'm going to say this, that the first time that, like, I have two older sons. I didn't, I wasn't married previously. So this is the first time where I was married and here with my kids from birth. And I promise you, the very first time that I can't even remember what it was. My wife's in the hospital or just gone something, but the very first time, and if you've never done it, man, I'm telling you, it's a humbling experience. The first time that I had to get up, my baby boys are 2 years apart, and I had a 1-year-old and 3-year-old, and I'm trying to change diapers and pack this and take this one and drop this one off. And even when they got to, like, they both were in elementary school, and getting everyone ready and realizing how much work being a housewife is, that is a lot of work. I promise
Oh,
you, a lot of work.
my first wife was in the Navy, and she was out to sea for 6 months. I had my son that was a newborn, and I had my stepdaughter. She was like 5 years old, and I'm working, going to school. So I'm dropping one off to school, going to work, picking another one. I've done it.
So you know how hard that is. Right. So being just the fact that a man is making more money, I wouldn't consider that as handling everything in the house, because to me, I had the easy part because I'm going to take care of myself regardless, right? I have a job, I work, I got income. So all I got to do is pay bills. That was simple. Like, hey, we're going to use this American Express card to pay for everything, your gas, food, everything. We have one bill to pay, whatever it is, a couple $1,000s a month. And that's all I had to do was pay that bill. That's easy.
Like,
It sounds
me teacher said, teamwork to dream work.
right, right. But everything else, the cooking, the cleaning, the kids, the laundry, the clothes, that's a lot.
That's included in the teamwork as well.
Exactly. So
It's
if
all
that
included
person,
in there.
right, is taking care of all of that, I felt I was coming off easy with just paying the bills. All I gotta do is pay bills. But people value money differently, I think. And I always look at it like, as a man, if you're gonna be by yourself, like right now, Tank, do you live alone?
Yep,
Who pays all your bills?
me.
So if a significant other came in, it wouldn't affect you to continue paying all your bills. Now, if she's contributing all the things and say, hey, you know what? I'll make sure I come in. I'll clean this for you. I can do your laundry for you. I'll iron for you. I can do different things and contribute different things to the household. And hey, you know what? I'll take care of X, Y, Z. Or if I'm cooking, I'll buy the groceries. I can contribute that. But I don't like to tell anybody how to operate their house. Whatever works best for you. I just wanted to know the mother's opinions on how they felt. And as you see, we have two, conflicting responses, but
I don't come conflicting. Just too different, I think.
yeah, just different, not conflicting. Yeah, just two different opinions on how it is. And Robin, if you mind chiming in for us on that, if she's available, she probably stepped away for a minute.
No, I'm here. I keep forgetting how to unmute.
All right. So how
Okay,
do you feel when it
so
comes to your
we,
son? Would you want him
oh
to
my
be
God.
a 50-50 guy or?
No, no, I don't. But we touched on so many topics in the last few minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to try to remember. But so this is kind of like an ouch moment for me because, of course, my kid's dad wasn't in the house. And as a mom, single mom,
Coddled.
I was juggling a lot of plates.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized, so my oldest daughter and I would tag team the housework. and get it done. And then the younger two kids, we would give them, little things to do. But my son is included in the younger two. He is now 27. And of course, when I was working and healthy, everybody had things they were doing. He was in college. He finished in 2019. My point is this: now that I'm at home because of, the stroke, it's like he just recently lost a job. So this is what I'm going through. I definitely don't want a 50-50 son. That's not the way I was raised. I was raised with the more traditional, gender roles. My dad paid all the bills, but to Tank, I think it was Tank that said he notices a lot of guys that pay all the bills don't take care of the emotional side of things. And that definitely was an issue in my household growing up. My mom definitely felt like she was not being attended to emotionally, time wise. It was a laundry list, but he definitely was a provider. He didn't even want my mother to work. So, I don't know. I kind of struggle with this in a lot of different areas, and I am trying to curb this thing with my son because I realize that he has been coddled to a degree, and it wasn't intentional, but I think it happened. And so, like, listening to this is really like eye opening. I don't know. I feel like I'm missing one of the points that I was supposed to be addressing as well.
No, you did. You nailed them all. And because you are a mother, of a boy, and a lot of times I point things out in a
Mm-hmm.
friendly way and try to be respectful only as a male, having been in multiple spaces and knowing what the world is like. So a lot of times we want the world to change for us and the world to change to accommodate us. And instead of us changing to what's there until we're in a position to change things around us. And I've seen a lot of cases where we have, in my opinion, coddled our boys. I've been in education for a long time and in different places. So working at a K-8 environment this year, it's amazing because you see the transition, right? You see these babies that moms love. They're hanging around the classroom doors. They're snapping pictures. They're in the car line. My baby not getting on a school bus, not understanding that you're hurting your child because they lack the social skills. They lack conflict resolution skills. A little bickering. They said someone pushed my son on the bus. Those things are part of childhood development, and it helps with the conflict resolution skills. But, at the young age, we're driving the kids to school every day. The grandparents are dropping them off. We're picking them up. And then they get to be a little older. And I see parents, I saw today, someone talked about their son, a young kid asking for some sneakers that are $1,100. Hey, if you can afford it, cool. But when you're doing that, when will that stop? Because if you're going to buy a pair of sneakers for a kid that's maybe 10, 12 years old and you're going to spend $1,100, at what age will it stop? 16, 17, 19, 21? And if you don't have an age set, then life just happens. And you find yourself in a place where you're continuing to do those things for these young men. And it happens a lot with the guys. That's all they've done is in the last 10 plus years is play video games and have a woman take care of them. So do they even know how to do anything outside of that? If that's all they've done or that's all they've had their entire lives. And, it's like a badge of honor in some cases where women talk about what they've done. Go ahead.
I got one for you.
Mm-hmm.
My son, 18 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I guess at the time when this incident happened, he was 16, maybe 7. He was riding in the vehicle in the car with his mother, and she had a blown tire. Tire blew out on the interstate. Called me up. He said, "Hey, Dad, where you at?" I said, "I'm out handling some business." I said, "What's up?" He said, I'm riding with mom and the tires blew out on the car. I said, well, go ahead and change the tires, son. He said, I would, but we don't have a jack in the car. I said, no. I said, okay, well, actually, I'm right behind you guys. Give me 5, 10 minutes. I'll be here. I pulled up, took the jack out. He changed the tire. So I asked her, I said,
You're breaking up, Terry.
this is on.
Oh, you're breaking up.
I really don't, like my stuff. Yeah.
Terry, you're breaking
Can,
up. You might be
can you hear me now?
far. Go ahead.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
All right. So I said to her, I said, I really don't like my son being out here on the interstate trying to change a tire on a car. I said, did you call your man? She said, I did, but he don't know how to change a tire.
Hmm.
Oh. So, no one made sure him as a man knew how to change a tire on a vehicle. I
I would
said, okay.
well, that's a plot twist.
So I was like, okay. So yeah, I kind of felt some kind of way about that, but to me, it showed me that I was doing the right thing as far as, mentoring my son and make sure certain things
You know.
as a man, he definitely know how to do.
Wow.
Personal experience.
Having a grown man that doesn't know how to. And that's just one aspect of it. But yeah, that goes back to what we talked about, Deborah, with the difference in the guys in different areas where you talked about, guys in New York and people using public transportation a lot as well. They might not have a need to or an opportunity to change tires in those areas, but definitely in the South, like,
Right. Cause up north, I know like everything was the bus and the train. So, even when I moved back to New York, I sold my car because I knew there was going to be absolutely no need for it. So like when you grow up north, that might not be something you just learn how to do because there's a lot of families who don't even buy cars because it's no need for it.
right. So there are other things, I guess, in different areas that they still feel that men should know growing up, rites of passage. Hey, I have to be able to do this. I should be able to do that. Yeah, that's something right there. I don't know how you would feel about that. So you had to go out and help your son change his car. Well, this dude, I guess he's at the house. Did he at least call and thank you, Terry?
Probably not. I think Terry entered the car, but he probably didn't.
Yeah, that's something. And I see, okay, Robin said that, and to our point, her son hasn't had a man around to teach him these things. And that is important. That is why it's so important for mentors, and to get away from that mindset of not needing a man. Okay, just say I don't need a man to pay my bills. That's cool. But families need people. We need mothers, we need fathers, we need, men, women, we need them. It could be uncle or grandfather that is needed. So hopefully this will give us some things to think about. And with your son, Robin, you know, if he has uncles or, male cousins, just tell them to come up with a list of things that they feel, oh man, Terrence is the guy I never thanked him. That's crazy.
I told you.
But yeah, a list of things.
He probably cussed her out. So you call him. You call him. He probably mad.
But even if he didn't know how to change the tire, like, why didn't there was no one you could call or nothing like that? Hey, I gotta go pull up over here. My woman and her kid, they on the interstate. I gotta go make sure this get handled. Like,
Let me get my,
If my girl called me cheer time, I ain't changing it either. I got AAA.
hey, but
AAA
at
be
least
right
you know
there.
how to.
Oh yeah, yeah. But I got AAA now.
I want to segue into our next question. I like this. We are all over the place, but what I like about it is a couple of our listeners, they were like, man, the podcast gives a under the garage feel. Like we just hanging out, sitting on the garage by the grill, talking about different things, This is another question for the men. Do you all understand or know what your needs are in a relationship? Like respect, love, empire, things like that. Do you all understand or know what your needs are in a relationship? Jermaine, we can start with you and follow up with Tank.
Okay. Well, I know I'm probably sounding like a broken record, but I think I've said this a million times. Respect and peace. I can deal with everything else. Simple.
Everything else, can you deal with cheating?
That, like I said, negotiable.
Okay.
Well, why you have to deal with cheating? That wasn't part of the question.
No, he said he can deal with everything else. I just want to,
Okay.
yeah, Jermaine said he can deal with anything else, but respect and peace are things that you need. That's good. You identified that. And just for clarification, Jermaine, when you
Hmm.
talk about respect, can you give us an example of things that makes you feel respected and something that is a symbolic of disrespect in your opinion in a relationship?
Well, don't argue with me in front of the kids.
Okay.
Don't argue with me in front of nobody.
Yeah, but the kids. Well, you're right about that. But see, the kids, it's my job to raise those kids. So it's like, so if you argue with me in front of those kids, guess what? That makes my job as a father that much harder.
Yeah, but you disrespect me in front of other people, I'm gonna give it back to you harder. So don't argue with me in front of nobody. We can talk about this later. You better hold it until we get home.
Yeah, I'm not the confrontational type when it comes to stuff like that. Like I said, anybody knows me and listen to me know my first priority is always the kids. So, anything past that, I figure it out.
Tank,
Yeah, just pretty much love, respect, loyalty.
some
I'm easy.
things that are
Saying what?
symbolic of that. What symbolizes, what can a woman do that will make you feel like, okay, she demonstrated that she loves me. She
Okay,
respects.
appreciation. Like when I do something, appreciate that. You don't have to buy me stuff, but just like, hey, baby, thank you, I appreciate you. Simple things like that.
Okay.
'Cause
Well,
I don't ask for material things, period.
well, I can give you an example. When I was in college, now, like I said, when I went to college, athletes weren't allowed to work, so I didn't have a job. So, I had my girlfriend at the time. She had a job and she was working or whatever have you. And when we would go out or whatever have you, she knew I didn't have a job. So she would do little things. She would hand me the debit card under the table so I could pay for the doggone meal.
Mm, that's good stuff right there.
But unfortunately, you know how that story ended, though.
How did that make you feel at the time?
Like I said, it made me feel respected. It made me feel like, I don't have to prove my man. She like, because I was just being me. The first time I wasn't allowed to work, like I said, so I stayed in the classroom. So, it wasn't really a big thing to me, but when she did that, it kind of occurred to me after she did it, why she did it, and then I'm like, damn, she was looking out.
Really cared about you.
Yeah.
Did you feel indebted to her?
I'm not gonna say I feel indebted to her. There's a certain amount of ways I'm going to treat a woman that's with me anyway.
Okay.
So you're gonna get 100% of me regardless. So it's nothing really special. But I will say her doing that, it gave her some extra lives, so to speak. My gamers out there. I'll just say it like that.
Okay. Tank,
Yep.
back on you, man. You said the things that you understand and know what your needs are in a relationship. And can you give us some examples, please?
Just having my back, being a support system for me, like understand, like, if I might need help with something or, I'm having a bad day, just know what to say or what to do to get me in the right mind space.
Hmm. I'm just thinking about this and I'm not even sure, honestly, if I fully understand because I think my expectations may change depending on who I'm with. You know, like I might analyze that person and like what you talked about earlier, if because it wouldn't look the same with different people because the people are different, they're dynamic, they have different incomes, they have different abilities. So cooking a meal for me might be a task for one person and it might be simple to someone else. So, doing something like that would not have the same meaning across the board for everybody.
Oh, my bad, Coach Sean. I
Hmm.
did forget one. I did forget one thing, and I don't want to short this woman, even though she's a nice wife. I don't want to short this woman.
Go ahead.
One thing she also did do. She knows my favorite meal that my mom used to make used to be her baked macaroni.
Okay.
That was one of the first things she learned how to make.
Oh, wow. That's important. That's important. So she wanted to know what was important to you and she made it a priority of hers, man.
Yeah, like I said, like I said, when I got back to my rack, all hell broke loose. But I'm not gonna short that woman. She was a good woman. So
In places like that. I was about to tell you, you better go back and pick her up, man. But we're gonna talk
yeah, my
about
dad,
that. We're gonna talk about that.
my dad said that too.
Yeah, you better go back and get her. We're gonna revisit that part after the show. Yeah, that's major right there. I'm serious. If a woman is willing to call your mom and find out what your favorite meal was or what she did, and she learned to do it, she wanted to please you and wanted to make you happy. In my opinion, that's major. That's a major sacrifice and thing right there.
But I say this 10 times.
She
But see,
wasn't
I say this
attracted
7 days a week.
to.
But I say 7 days a week and twice on Sundays. Like, even though she may have turned into something different, I'm not gonna take away what she was. I'm
Right.
not gonna disrespect her like that.
That's good. That's good. That's good. And for a moment of self-reflection, I don't know you or her personally. Do you think, because you said everything changed when you came back from Iraq, do you think that you changed a lot as a person as well?
No, I did. And the simple fact was I was dealing with undiagnosed brain injury. So
Oh,
a lot of things were not working the way they're supposed to. And somebody like me, where what made me was my athletic ability and my intellect. And here it is. I came back from Iraq. I was no longer a professional athlete. My brain is acting kind of funny. I don't know why. And I dropped into a depression.
okay. And that's a lot. That is, I want to say this, with her being your significant other, you may have expected a lot from her as far as support, but until a person has been put in that position, I think that your expectations of her may have exceeded her
What
capabilities at the
happened?
time.
What happened? She had a girlfriend. She had a girlfriend that she was real close to, and it seemed like everything that girl did, she had to do. So guess what her husband? Guess what she did to her husband while I was in Iraq?
Uh-oh. We won't get into
It,
that more detail.
exactly.
No.
Exactly.
But they on here, and now we got into other people.
Yeah.
You know how I feel about when
Oh
folks
yeah,
have
I
an
got you.
opportunity to defend themselves. We'll leave it there. But I'm just saying, as a person, when you came back and the things that you experienced and the things that you went through, if
I
she
was a
was not
recluse.
prepared, if she was not prepared professionally, she probably required counseling along with you, the kids and everybody to deal with and cope with that situation. I'm not siding with her. I'm not,
No,
just
I
trying to
understand.
bring some clarity and understanding for everybody involved.
Well,
Just
the problem,
thinking.
yeah, like I said, it was kind of different. Like I said, she wasn't just like I wasn't the same person. I came back, neither was she. So it's like,
And that happens. That happens because and as you discussed, I'm playing that's a lot to deal with in a marriage. Being, what's the word I'm looking for? Just being displaced. That's a lot. And I want to
I
ask
was, I
another
mean, I, I
question.
mean, I was still scared to see because I was having nightmares, so I wasn't getting no sleep either. So I was like,
So that's something for us to discuss as well when you think about, relationships, dealing with traumatic experiences. How do you think about that and deal with traumatic experiences? I want to ask
but
a
you've heard me
question.
say before, well, I'm gonna say it to leave it,
Yeah,
but
go
you've
ahead.
heard me say this before. I had no problem with her divorcing me. It was the stuff she did after that I had a problem with.
Okay, we'll talk about that after after the show. After
All right.
yeah, because she's not here. And like I said, when we share information, it's one thing for
Mm-hmm.
you to be transparent, but we don't know her and we don't have her consent, you know. So we're gonna leave that alone. That's just how I
Now,
feel about that.
ask my kid. Ask my kid. She told him everything it's supposed to.
Okay, let's get our next question in, right? One of the other questions, again, women like this why stuff, like they're saying it's in stone and it's how it is. So when we get our why questions, fellas, first thing I want us to do is, acknowledge if you agree, and if you do or do not, just explain. So this question is, why don't men communicate their expectations before being intimate? And this person kind of piggybacks. She's like, are there any expectations after intimacy? So why don't men communicate their expectations for being intimate? So do you agree with that? And if you do, why? And if you do not, please elaborate, man.
That's a 50-50 thing. And
Exactly.
sometimes, most times we don't know what, we just want to see what this person's about. There really no true intention initially.
What's the introduction to something you didn't know?
Hmm. So do you guys
But
agree that men don't communicate their expectations?
you don't know them. You don't
You
have any
don't
at the
know.
time.
Now you know, man, this simplest mental form is gonna be during sex. So it's like I don't know what to tell you. You asking a logical question to somebody will have an illogical mind at that certain time.
So do you all have expectations after being intimate?
Yeah, do it again
Yeah,
if it's good.
it depends on the state of our friendship. It depends on the state of our relationship.
Okay. Elaborate, Jermaine.
Well, like I said, if it's just a hookup or something like that, of course, man, you do you, I do me. You know what I'm saying? And life goes on. But if you're in an actual relationship and you do that and you cross that line, then yeah, I expect a certain level of monogamy.
Hmm. So let's get a little deeper in that. So
Sure.
just being in, so you're saying that y'all are friends, right? You're talking,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, hanging out. Once
Mm-hmm.
you get to the point where you have sex, then you feel like, hey, we both should be exclusive.
Well, if we have a certain friendship before that and then it goes to sex, yeah, of course. But I'm talking about the one night stands or something like that. You know,
No, she's talking about like just if there's somebody you're kicking it with. So do you discuss it? Do you come out and say, hey, you wake up the next morning, y'all laying in the bed, you roll over and be like, hey, I hope you know we go together now, right? Not
I'll be honest with you, that would be,
I I
I'm not
think a
gonna lie, that would be an
discussion should
awkward
be had
conversation.
before then.
go.
That
Oh,
would be, yeah, that would be an awkward conversation to have afterwards.
Mm.
go ahead, Lakeisha. What were you saying?
No, I said I think a discussion should be had before then. Like
Before,
before anything happens.
like, okay, where are we going with this? And,
Every
or go ahead.
okay, no, you don't know this person. When you see a person, the first attraction is physical because you don't know this person, not unless you've been friends with this person. If you've been friends with this person and you're trying to take it to another level before you're intimate with this person, y'all need to have a discussion. I mean,
About,
that just I guess no gray area. Keep everything black and white. What do you want from me? What do you expect from me if this happens or when this does happen?
okay.
That's why I said, why didn't she ask? Because as a woman, those are questions
Yes,
that I feel like it's not always on the man
on
to
the man.
pose or say. Like, we got to be asking these questions as
Questions
well. We
too.
got to be accountable for what we're allowing to happen in this situation as well.
I agree.
A lot of them in it for the same reason.
Well, when this person asks this question, you know, and this comes down to communication. If the person is able to communicate, and I think that men, I agree that a lot of times men don't communicate their expectations. And I think we've talked about this a couple months ago because we kind of fear pushing them away, or we don't know what they want, right? So sometimes men really want a relationship, like they want to be exclusive, but we don't want to be the first one to say it. Or if that's not what they want, they don't want to miss out on the things that comes along with, it's like, okay, this girl has already said that, or this woman, lady, female, whatever, however you all want to be addressed. I'm trying to be mindful of that. So when I say girl, it's not, don't take offense, please. But if men are like, yo, she already said that this is what she wants, right? And I know it's not what I want, but I'm not going to tell her until I can get whatever. And when we talk about expectations changing, it depends on that person, on the individual, because as crazy as this sounds, some men can have sex with women for 10 years and never know their middle name.
Mm.
Don't care what it is.
Yeah, you got me looking guilty over here.
Mm.
Just put it in perspective. You could be in a situation where you've been dealing with a person and for 10, 15 years and you never know that person's middle name, right? So sex is not always synonymous with love, right? So when we talk about are there expectations after being intimate, there could be expectations, but for different reasons. If a person is saying, okay, I expect you to be exclusive, that doesn't mean they're in love with you, right? That could be for protection, for safety purposes. If we're doing something, we're being intimate and not using protection, we're being intimate and doing that stuff them young kids do with putting their mouths in all kind of places, then you would want to say, hey, I don't expect you to be doing this with 2-3 other dudes in a day and I'm putting my mouth on you at night. You know what I'm saying? So even beyond the emotional part, just for the safety part and as far as hygiene is concerned, so there could be expectations, but expectations for various reasons. And that's just my opinion. Jermaine, go ahead. I see your mic is on. Tank.
Oh, my bad.
No, you're good.
Go on, Tank. Go on, Tank. You take this one.
No, I already answered that. Like I said, most time we don't know.
Well, I agree with Tank because most time you don't. We don't. Because
And then like,
one thing,
also,
'cause
okay.
one thing we haven't thought of either. What if sometimes it's something that the woman wants to do, but we're not quite there? We ain't gonna say no. So it's like,
Facts.
Why?
Who turned down? They said I ain't turned down nothing but my collar.
exactly. That's what I'm saying. And see, a lot of times we do this with the assumption that it's always men that initiate these things. But then it's like, hey, we live a new day. And I'm like, hey, sometimes, you women be like, hey, you better drop them things. I'm like, so it's like, hey, whoa. So it's like, what happens to a situation where the man may go into a situation with upstanding, thoughts involved and she wants to go for it. I don't know a man's gonna say no. He wasn't prepared for it, but he did it.
And after it happens, do you communicate expectations? Or you just
Honestly,
kind
from
of
my,
go with the flow?
but at that point, if they initiated and we check and we were shooting, yeah, we're going with the flow. 'Cause we don't know cause we know she dictate thing after that. So we just follow her lead to an extent.
We're going to
I
Because
think it's important to understand, like, just being able to be in the flow of things and not really, it's at least in the beginning, not having like too many expectations. Like, you might know like what you want, right? But just, allowing things to kind of happen the way they happen. Sometimes, the sex comes before you have the talk of, what the expectations are, or what what you want to have happen afterwards. And in that case, just make sure that it don't keep happening before that conversation happens. It doesn't have to like become a thing to where now I'm forcing you into anything, or, you're doing something that you don't agree to. Like, we put the cart before the horse a little bit. So what we gonna do from here? Like, how we gonna move forward?
yeah.
I don't even know. I don't even know how to answer that one. Because you remember we had this conversation last week, like offline, we were talking about a situation where it's expected that men always won. So it's like the thought of a man being in a sexual encounter that he doesn't want to be in, that's supposed to be unheard of.
Repeat that,
So,
Jermaine.
huh?
What was the last thing you said?
You remember we had that conversation last week about how we assume that, the man always is welcome to sexual advances.
Right.
See, and that's what I'm saying. It's one of the situations where, you may walk into a situation and, we're going to assume she may have slightly, we might not have been in the mood. We might not have had done it, but she started something, might have had a little something in her, and we did what we did. But, afterwards you like, I really wish I hadn't done that. Now, the thing about it is, now if you go tell somebody that you had second thoughts, first thing I say is, well, you a man, you wanted it.
Which is a terrible assumption.
Yeah, but a very
And
popular
a
one.
terrible way to respond.
Yeah, but like I said, you can accidentally fall into it. Like I said last week.
Yeah, you did say
Tank,
that.
we ain't gonna go back there now. Tank, come on now.
Nah, I said accidents happen. I didn't want it. It was just there.
It slipped
Oh, I can't
and
with you.
fell.
I cannot with you.
I've heard that
At
story a lot.
all. Child.
I'm not gonna say I did it, but I've heard that story a lot. But I didn't do it, so.
I'll give you an example. Like, that's just like saying, like, I don't think that every time a man approaches you or tries to get your attention that he's trying to holler. And it's so funny because I went to the gas station the other day and I went inside and it was a dude in a red Mustang sitting there. And I went inside and I came back out. And as I was coming back out, he stopped me. He was like, "Excuse me, ma'am." And I was like, "You know what I'm saying?" I said, "Yes, sir." You know what I'm saying? He was like, "I'm not, I'm not trying to holler at you or nothing like that." I said, "Well, I didn't think you were, but go ahead. What would you like to say?" And he was like, "I just wanted to tell you you're really beautiful. You know what I'm saying? Like, whatever you're doing, keep doing what you're doing. You're a beautiful woman. And I just wanted to let you know that." And I told him, I said, "Well, thank you." You know what I'm saying? And I went about my business. So, like, I think it's not all women who think that men, always have to be so, you know, sex driven or whatever. It's really just the mindset of the woman that you're dealing with.
I think that piggybacking on what you're saying, personally, I hated that whole Me Too movement. I hate what happened to a lot of women. I hate that for them, but the movement, and it was just a movement because it just vanished, it disappeared after R. Kelly and Bill Cosby, and now they got the money out of Puffy, right?
No, I think the Johnny Depp thing killed me too.
It kind of, but what I didn't like was it ruined relationships. And Damon and I used to talk about this for years, and we would joke about it with memes, right? If this guy's handsome and he's very attractive, it's flirting. If he's ugly, it's harassment. So,
Mm-hmm.
so are the actions themselves being ridiculed or criticized, or the individual? And when it becomes, that objective, that's not fair to people. You see what I'm saying? Because just saying hello or speaking with a smile, oh, now you're harassing. Oh, he needs to leave me. Oh, he gets on my nerve. Oh, he's always this and that. And some women like to label, man, y'all give them nicknames in 2 seconds. Girl, make you saying hello every day, whatever names you call them, right? But if it's somebody that's attracted to you, now you want him to say something. And that's problematic, because I've seen situations like that that can cost people their jobs and careers when a person had no ill intent, just being friendly. So yeah, I really, really, really didn't like that. Didn't like that movement. I had some terrible experiences just with work. I remember
Oh
being
yeah, you work in the
told
school system. Yeah, I remember. Oh yeah.
during that time in 2018-19, I was working at a college. I was working at Clemson, and I remember being told that I over postured. And I was like, what is that? And they said I over postured. On my cohort, I was the only male. So I explained that, hey, I was raised in the South with my grandfather. We were taught to sit straight up, shoulders back, eye contact. And they said I was over posturing and I was speaking over people and my voice is heavy and I'm projecting. And I'm like, I was always taught to speak loud and clear, not whimper and whisper. So everything that I was raised on became a problem because of how everybody else felt. And it was just too overwhelming for me. I couldn't keep up with all of it. And at the same time, with the Me Too was the whole thing where everybody putting under their email and him, her, she, is, us, we, all that stuff.
Pronouns.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay. I mean, I get it. I don't want to be disrespectful to anyone. The whole diversity, equity, and inclusion thing is important, but they aren't parallel in my opinion, because some things can be masked or hidden or doesn't even have to be disclosed. So you can't say a minority is oppressed the same way of a homosexual, because unless you tell me you're a homosexual, I would never know. But once I see you, I know that you're black. So that's not the same. So that whole situation was problematic for me, but I hate this part of the show. We've reached our 2-hour mark, y'all, and we're down at 20 seconds. I want to thank our new guests, Melvin, Lakeisha, our regulars. Thank you all.